Gajendrakumar Ponnambalam ඔබතුමාට මිනිත්තු 15ක කාලයක් තියෙනවා.
I thank you, Mr. Deputy Speaker. This is the first time I get to speak since you got elected as Deputy Speaker. My congratulations to you. Sir, we are speaking with regards to a policy statement made by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. That statement was made in the backdrop of a series of talks where he had invited all political party leaders represented in Parliament. And the stated position, at least to the Tamil parties, was that a consensus should be found to find a political solution to the ethnic conflict. Now, sir, as far as I know, the Tamil National People's Front, that is represented in Parliament as the All Ceylon Tamil Congress, did not go for those negotiations. We did not go, sir, because before he became president, and in fact when he got elected, or rather got appointed to Parliament as an ordinary member of Parliament, he wanted to meet us. And when we met him, we asked him about what his idea for a political solution is. And at that stage, he did not give any clear answer. Then subsequently, he was appointed as Prime Minister. The day before he was appointed as Prime Minister, I met him in the presence of Mr. Gajendrakumar, who just spoke before me, in fact at the Honourable Member's house down Queen's Road, which is where I live. We are neighbours. And when I met him, again I inquired as to what his idea of a political solution is. Because he rejected federalism outright. Federalism is a position that the Tamil parties have maintained. That is the position that has been unanimously mandated by the Tamil people for over 70 years. But he rejected federalism outright. And instead he mentioned committee systems, the district development council system. So I was shocked that a person who is going to be appointed Prime Minister the next day calls a leader of a Tamil party and speaks of district development councils, something that was rejected over 30 years ago, 35 years ago, as in fact his idea of a solution. So when that was what Mr. Wickremesinghe had told us very clearly, we wanted clarity with regards to these negotiations, because at the end of the day what we did not want is for what we consider a rogue government that does not have a mandate, that in fact has been rejected by the people, to be given some sort of credibility without the Tamil people having something significant and substantial to gain. I mean, we can't just go and give legitimacy to someone who got rejected by the people and who was appointed as president by a bunch of rogues who should be facing an election and be sent home. So under those circumstances, without any clarity being given very clearly, we did not want to give legitimacy to this government, and as a result, we did not go. Now, Honourable Presiding Member, after him telling the whole world that he's having these all-party talks to find a solution to the ethnic problem, he has stated this in his speech: considering all facts, we expect to devolve power within a unitary state. However, I wish to reiterate a fact that has been emphasized on many occasions: there will be no division of the country. Now, we have no problems with the second part of that statement. But to say that after all facts have been considered, that he wishes to so-called devolve powers within a unitary state, makes a mockery of this so-called all-party conference, because those talks are supposed to be going on. So in that case, these Tamil parties who have been taking part in those talks must come out and tell the people What is this agreement that he has made? Because obviously that means that these Tamil parties, after going to the people and getting a mandate for federalism and rejecting a unitary state outright, have gone and agreed with the president for a unitary state. Either that or the president has made a mockery. He has used everybody who are foolish enough to go and take part in those talks and give him legitimacy. He has made those people recognize a rogue government. That is what has happened. So this is the reality. He talks of 13th Amendment, something again that even these parties that went and met him because they did not want to upset India, even with regards to the 13th Amendment, not a word is mentioned in this policy statement. Not a word of 13th Amendment. But he tells these Tamil parties that he is for the implementation of the 13th Amendment. Instead, Honorable Presiding Member, Deputy Speaker, thank you. We expect to establish a modern system of district development councils. So the unit of devolution of the province has gone. Actually, Mr. Wickramasinghe was honest to me when he said that what he proposes is district development councils. When I said this in public, when I said to the Tamil people and to these colleagues that he is not interested in even the 13th Amendment as a unit of devolution as the province, instead he is talking of district development councils, they ridiculed me and they said that I am lying. That I am lying. So this is the state of affairs, Honorable Deputy Speaker. And it is under those circumstances that we are speaking today. We reject the 13th Amendment. Our party rejects the 13th Amendment. We don't consider it a starting point for negotiations. And we say that because, Honorable Presiding Member, the 13th Amendment falls within the unitary state structure. And when it falls within the unitary state structure, there can be no devolution of power. The president knows that. And despite knowing that as a lawyer, he says in this policy statement that he wishes to, quote unquote, devolve maximum power within a unitary state. The Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, the highest courts in this country, have ruled in over 32 judgments. In over 32 judgments, whenever the 13th Amendment has been taken up on appeal with regards to, in fact, who has power over the provincial list, the concurrent list, and various conflicts that occur, they have ruled time and again that since Sri Lanka is a unitary state, there cannot be devolution. If at all, it will be decentralization. So there is no question. There is no question. If you believe in your system which is faulty, which we reject, which we want to be transformed, but at least if you believe in your own system, then surely you can't go and overrule the Supreme Court that says that the 13th Amendment is well within the unitary state and there cannot be devolution under that scheme, and if at all it will only be decentralization. So there is no point. When the Supreme Court has made it so clear, there cannot be so-called implementation of the 13th Amendment. We know that. So what do you mean by this term implementation? Ranil Wickramasinghe, President, today feels, he has woken up from the left side of the bed, so today he feels that he will tell the governor, there is a governor, former governor here, he will tell the governor, he'll call up the governor and say, well, look, if the chief minister in those provinces want to do something, just do it. Do it for them. Tomorrow when he wakes up from the other side of the bed, if he chooses not to, he'll call the same man and say, I say, you know, they are not cooperating with me, don't scuttle it. So we have to depend on the whims and fancies of individuals. That is what the so-called implementation of a 13th Amendment that is within the unitary state means. That is not something, Honourable Presiding Member, that our party is willing to accept. And so we rejected those talks. We rejected those talks. On the one hand, he very clearly has told us that it is district development councils, which is the unit of demolition being something like district, which was rejected from the very instance. And instead, he talks of a unitary state. Another reason to reject it outright. So we have rejected it. There are others who reject it as well. There are others who reject it. Sinhalese members of parliament who are rejecting it. They know, those members of parliament know, and quite a few of them are present whilst I speak today, they know fully well that the 13th Amendment is rubbish, that the 13th Amendment has no powers. On the contrary, it gives all the powers to the President and to Colombo, to this Parliament. They know it. But why do they oppose it? Because of the Indo-Lanka Accord. It is only because of the Indo-Lanka Accord where India safeguards its interest. And it is because the Tamil question was used in order for India to safeguard its interest, they feel a rejection of the 13th Amendment, ridding the 13th Amendment, can be a stepping stone to rid the Indo-Lanka Accord and to take India's hold on Sri Lanka through that accord out of this equation. We are very clear, Honourable Presiding Member. We are extremely clear that the Indo-Lanka Accord is one thing and the 13th Amendment is another thing. We reject the 13th Amendment, but we don't reject the Indo-Lanka Accord. The Indo-Lanka Accord was signed officially because it was to be a solution to the Tamil problem, that India intervened on behalf of the Tamils. Sri Lankan state accepted that intervention. So unless the Tamils reject the Indo-Lanka Accord, the accord cannot be rejected. But the Tamils reject the 13th Amendment because the 13th Amendment was an interpretation of the accord by the then government. It did not have the consent of the Tamil parties. And we know with some responsibility that India was not satisfied either. But of course, geopolitically, since the accord was signed and India has secured its interests through the letters of exchange, being part of the annexures to the agreement, India allowed the 13th Amendment to be brought in and did not object. So those are India's geopolitical considerations. They can be those considerations for them, but not for the Tamils. Not for the Tamils. And it is under those circumstances, Honourable Presiding Member, that we state very clearly that we reject the 13th Amendment. Now, sir, the Honourable Prime Minister spoke a few speakers before me. He mentioned that my grandfather, G.G. Ponnambalam, was involved in the executive committee system under the Domnamo Commission. Those were different days, Honourable Presiding Member. Those were days when Tamils actually dreamt of a Sri Lankan identity. Who ruined it? Who ruined that Sri Lankan identity? You can't blame the Tamils for that. You brought in Sinhala Buddhism. You insisted on an identity of Sinhala Buddhism, not Ceylonese. For you, Sri Lanka was only Sinhala Buddhist. It did not include the Tamils or the Muslims or the upcountry Tamils. You did your utmost to make sure that the Tamils and the rest stayed out of that identity. So how can you now talk of a district as your unit of devolution? Do you think that you can just simply wish away these things? It will never happen, Honourable Presiding Member. The cost of your stupid decisions in over 75 years has been the bankruptcy of this country. Has been the bankruptcy of this country. And if you want to go down that path in the future as well, by all means go. by all means go down that path. Because the Tamils will resist. That's for sure. And that means you will be spending a hell of a lot of money unnecessarily. Unnecessarily. Money that you can spend to develop everybody within this country. Money that can be used to utilize and empower all segments, all peoples, all nations within this country. But if you choose not to change and go down the path of failure of the last 75 years of this unitary nonsense, by all means go. By all means go. Because you will live, you will be condemned to relive that past.
කාලය අවසන් වෙන කරුමන්තු අවසන්
Thank you,
කරන්න.
sir.
බොහොම ස්තුතියි ඔබතුමාට.